Welcome to the Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer
Greg Pace. And retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest, legendary horse trainer, owner of Siegelman Stables, Robbie Siegelman.
I know what you're grinning about. I do know what you're grinning about.
We did it off camera. I can't even keep a straight face.
Yeah, and it'll stay off camera too.
All right. You're right. When you're right, you're right.
When I'm right, I'm right. I'll be right a little bit. Our guest today is Robbie Siegelman, harness racing trainer, rider, and bon vivant. He started equine therapy in Manhattan. He's one of the few guys. He's probably one of the only guys we've ever had on the show who can actually see me play soccer.
We're going to go back to your soccer days.
At Jacksonville University.
I thought we'd be talking about his philanthropy, what kind of a guy he was, all the one.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about all of that as well.
After we get done with your soccer days.
But Derek asked us at the end of an interview, which we wanted to save today. What was your question, Derek?
How long does it take us to piss? I think.
Yeah. It's relatable. Are you guys seniors?
Seniors? We're seniors.
Seniors?
Yeah?
I got a ball spot over than seniors. Get out of here. Seniors?
So what's it like?
What is this? Cary Grant was a kid. Who was it? Said it ain't for sissies. Paul Newman. Getting old ain't for sissies.
Yeah, but it beats the alternative.
You can be more right, man.
How do you know?
That's true, too.
I do know.
Oh, yeah.
I hear voices.
Because if I'd be dead, I'd be missing so much stuff. I'd be missing my granddaughters. I'd be missing my wife. I'd be missing this podcast.
That makes sense, Billy.
I see dead people.
Makes sense. This is why he's gotten softer.
Did you think he's mellowed a bit?
Yeah.
I always thought he was like an M&M, hard on the outside, nice soft.
I mean, that's
interior,
true. They're all like that.
Hard crusted on the outside, soft on the interior, melts in your mouth, that kind of thing.
Wait a minute.
Now, don't take that literally.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm saying, wait a minute. You're talking about
milk.
I'm excited. I thought you were. I thought we were stopping. One question I get asked is, why am I still working? And I think that I'm still working. Because somebody wants me. A lot of people my age or our age don't have anybody who want them to work for them.
Or in other capacities, they don't want them.
Yeah, well. They get blown. I mean, there are a lot of really, really capable people in my business that don't work just because nobody knows who they are.
What's the value? So I mean, this is a good point. So what do you think the value is of somebody in your age group that is working now? What value do you offer?
Reliability, I would imagine.
Experience.
Yeah.
Who would you rather take direction from? A 25-year-old or a person that's been in the business for 25 or 30 years?
Depends on what she looks like.
Well,
if I'm an executive producer, I would think you want to throw the dice with somebody who you got to feel that he's going to bring the thing home clean.
But just in any business, what do you want to work with somebody who has been successful for 25 years, or you want to work with somebody who's been successful for 25 minutes? I mean, granted, now. Look, Robbie Siegelman's son has started a very successful clothing line, and he did it because of COVID. Siegelman Stables. It's been a fashion trend in New York and now around the country. And he's, a 30-year-old kid. So, I mean, he knows what it takes to be successful he's a successful influencer. I wouldn't know anything about being an influencer, but so if I was looking for an influencer, I would look to his son. But I'm not looking for an influencer.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
We really don't have a pulse of the 30-year-old either. You know what I mean? He said everybody, according to the research I did, everybody in the West Side's wearing these hats. Like his hats. It took him 4 years to do it, to reach out and do that.
But Derek knows a little bit more about influencers because his kids are both influencers,
and he knows a lot more about wardrobe.
Well, I would just say, I mean, influencers are exactly what the word is an influencer, And remember the gentleman that was on a show that you did who passed away driving, had a heart attack. He was a actor, older gentleman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was an influencer.
Yes.
And he was every much, at least, I don't know what his age was, but he was close to you guys' age.
67.
Okay. So I don't think it really matters the age group. I think what happens is, and we were having this conversation before the show started, Frank and I, before we did the first show, that I think that there is a relevance. I think that you guys have the ability to talk about things that are relevant because you have the life experience. And you can influence a whole generation, a whole new generation, including your own generation, with relevant points based on your experience. And I feel like sometimes people in your position feel like, oh, nobody wants to hear what an old man has to say. And I think that's the wrong approach, or we're old woman. What do you guys think?
I think that's definitely, I feel like that sometimes. I mean, who the hell cares what I got to say? But beyond that, you were talking about, what's his son's name is what? Sam? Max?
Robbie. Max.
Max is his son's name. How do I reach out to a 30 years old or some 30-year-olds? I don't know what bites them. Although the first time I ever got started in comedy, one of the reasons, the first time I was ever on a stage, a guy had asked me if I wanted to go up and talk about in front of his class. He asked me if I would like to. You've been around a long time. I was a 67-year-old student, and the kid says to me, "You've been a knock around guy." He says, "How'd you like to speak in front of my group?" And I said, "All right, sure, I'll come. About an hour. Speak for about an hour." And I said, "Okay, I never really spoke publicly, but I'm thinking there's 6 or 7 kids. I go into this auditorium, there's like 400 kids.
Right.
And then I look at all the guys lined up next to me. They got speaking. One's the head of the student council. One's a stand-up comic. The other guy was a biologist. And I said, what am I doing here? I said to this guy, I grabbed a hold of him. I said, what are you, an asshole? What am I supposed to speak on? He said, you ad-lib it. You'll know when you get up on stage. And then when I got up on stage, he asked me, could you speak out to these students right now and tell them things that happen in your life that'll never happen to them? And I said, give me that fucking microphone. No problem. I was walking up and down the stage.
Yeah.
They had to stop me.
Yeah.
Take me off the stage. And at the end of the night, there was a big group of kids around me. So apparently you don't think you can, but sometimes you got shit to say that they want to hear.
Yeah, that's my point. So you seniors need to step up to the plate.
Well, I think we're stepping up to the plate.
Well,
more than a lot of seniors.
I mean, we got to get this podcast, in the top 10. So say something outrageous, Billy.
Well, say something outrageous.
Hatsi Tatsi newborn Nazi.
Hatsi Nazi, another Nazi. Yeah. Hatsi Tatsi.
The ode to Elon Musk.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, we're pretty
Okay,
diverse
so
backgrounds,
that's a good point. So in your lifetime, in you guys' lifetime, have you ever seen somebody that
exerted as much influence over the United States that's not a United States citizen?
Yes.
No.
And you don't have any sort of recollection of
Hitler.
Well,
I don't have any recollection of Hitler, but
no, I mean recollection of somebody in the United States that has wielded so much power.
Yes, but
somebody who wasn't a citizen in the United States, like Tokyo Road.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think the citizenship thing. I think that's completely separate.
Yes, I think that there have been many people who have exerted the influence that Elon Musk has. We just never know who they were.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right.
I mean, the people that were controlling Joe Biden, the people that were controlling Ronald Reagan.
Right.
We will never know their names.
So you call them the powers that be, basically.
Yeah, the deep state.
I mean, those people are. Listen, Putin is famous for making that statement about every president comes in thinking they're going to change the world until the guys with the blue suits walk in, the dark suits and the blue ties come in and tell them how the world really works. You guys have heard that? Yeah. So, and I think that's like a real relevant thing. I think instead of saying, Donald Trump's the bad person but Joe Biden's the bad person or whoever, I think people should be asking that question regularly. Who are those people? And they need to show their faces.
So it's like the last scene in Network where the guy comes in and straightens everything out and says, "Listen, you've upset the natural order of things."
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about senior moments. Every once in a while, I have a senior moment. I'm having one right now.
Robbie Siegelman.
No. Who beat Bill Clinton in the 1996? Who did Bill Clinton beat in the 1996 presidential election?
Carter, right?
No, this is the question I'm asking Derek.
Shh.
Who did Clinton beat against?
Yeah, who did he beat?
Oh, who Clinton beat? I beat.
This is relevant to the point I want to try to make, but
Yeah, that's fine. We can figure it out. Hold on, let me.
Well, we should figure it out. We should know it off the top of our heads.
Definitely know it off the top of our heads.
I just got into politics last year, so
Yeah, because I want to make a point. He was on Suddenly Susan.
Donald Trump.
No, 1990.
Hold on.
I mean, you ask serious questions and you.
Oh, come on.
I'm having a senior moment too.
Yeah,
96 or 92?
Clinton,
96.
The
The guy with the withered arm.
Bob Dole.
Bob Dole.
Bob
Yeah.
Dole.
Okay, so
Jesus.
Good.
Bob
That's good
Bob
memory.
Dole was on Suddenly Susan, and he was the greatest guy in the world. He took time with everybody. He took pictures. He was glib. He was great. And I said to the guy that was with him, his chief of staff, I said, where was that guy during the campaign? If that guy was campaigning for president, he would have won immediately. He said, that's not the guy that the party seniors wanted. He was playing the role the party seniors wanted, and he didn't get elected. And and this is probably a hard thing. Never mind.
I just feel like somebody of your influence, you know people at the newspapers, like that sort of story should be written about.
Yeah, but the people at the newspapers are no longer at the newspapers.
No, I mean back in the day.
Look at what the Washington Post did. They fired their who's the guy who owns the Washington?
Editorial.
Yeah, who?
Bezos.
He just wants what's.
Well, it's got to be fashionable now not to criticize what's going on. I mean, look, he just barred the Associated Press from even attending. The Associated Press, they're not really.
Yeah, Trump did, not Bezos.
Trump did.
But Bezos is an arm of Trump.
Yeah, they all are.
As is Patrick Shun or whatever his name is.
During the inauguration, did you see the 5 people behind him?
Yeah.
I mean, it's corporations. When you merge corporations and government, you get fascism. That's a definition of fascism.
Yep.
Okay, but let's not act like that.
I'm not. My hair's not on fire.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we have to start.
Have you ever seen that before? Have you ever seen the president of the United States get sworn in and behind them is the 5 biggest, wealthiest men in America?
Yeah, well, we didn't know it, but they were there.
Oh, I'm sure they were there in dark suits.
They were there.
Glasses.
They were there all along.
All right.
But
let
me think. I think Robbie's coming in, so let's go get. Let's get Robbie.
Sorry.
There you are.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Turn that camera.
Why not? Hold on.
If I was there, I could tell you.
Relax. This takes time.
Yeah.
There it is. You got me. Let me make it louder.
All right. Look at that. Thanks for the hat, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, wait. Okay, now, can you tilt your
screen down a bit so we can see? Yeah, that beautiful shirt and hat.
Really?
So that's what you look like.
That's what I look like now. I still got some under my hat.
Oh,
all right.
You got less. You got more than me. No, you got less than me. Less than me, but more than Billy.
More than me.
How you doing, pal?
Let me make this louder. I'm doing well. Nice to meet you, Billy.
My pleasure, Robbie. Entirely, pal. Nice to meet you.
That's Derek Harris.
Hello.
On the back end.
Hey. Nice to meet you.
So every 55 years we check in with each other, huh?
We should do that. Yeah, do you have a date on the next check-in?
It's 55 years from now. You guys will both be...
what is it, 53 years, 52 years?
Well, we've been busy.
Been busy. Robbie and I played soccer together at Jacksonville University, and he's one of the... He's one of the most eminent. He's become most eminent horse trainers and riders in America, and he's been involved in equine therapy over the years. And how do we hook up again?
Wait.
What?
So you actually played sports with this gentleman that we have on the show.
Long time ago. I was a freshman, I believe, right, Frank?
You were a freshman, and I was a fifth-year senior.
A fifth-year senior? I didn't know about
that. Without getting NIL money.
How do you get left back in college?
All right.
well, there's a lot of stories.
Yeah. Robbie's got a better one than me, but yeah.
So I mean, did Frank actually? Was he any good? Did he play like?
We were really good back then. Actually, we were a D1 team. We were playing against the best teams in the country. In fact, I think Howard University, who was ranked maybe number 2 in the country, it turned out they got barred from the NCAA for a few years right after that year because half the guys were professionals.
But
wow.
they won the national championship in 1972, Howard University.
But they had all ringers, huh? A lot of ringers?
They had a lot of ringers. They had a lot of ringers.
So Robbie, I got to ask you with your accent, man, what part of New York are you from? Where are you from? The Island, the Brooklyn, Bronx? Where are you from?
You know what? I lived my whole life on Long Island. People think I'm from the South. I don't know.
From the South? Tuscaloosa? You don't sound like you're Tuscaloosa to me, pal.
I lived my whole life on Long Island. I spent a lot of time at the racetrack. A big Italian family took me in and taught me all about the horses as a
Carmine Apatello. We're talking about Carmine Apatello. I remember the Apatello. I remember I've seen everything.
Yes,
you
Carmine Apatello.
You couldn't pick up a race form without seeing their name. You couldn't pick up a race form without seeing their name.
You couldn't learn from anyone better. So his brother Anthony was the brains behind the operation, and I ran Tony's stable, and Carmine drove all our horses. And I was very lucky to learn from him how to run a business and how to train horses. And it's crazy. Tony passed away, but I still stay in touch with Carmine.
So can I ask you a question totally uninformed? I mean, can Secretariat become Dan Patch? Can Dan Patch become Secretariat? Is it two different kinds of horses that pull?
It's two different breeds of horses. The harness racing is standardbreds, and we don't race against thoroughbreds, which you're referring to, like in the Kentucky Derby, those kind of races. Different breed, different organization, just like quarter horses. They're a different breed. So no, they cannot race against each other.
What's the definition of a standardbred?
The definition of a standardbred?
Yeah, what makes a standardbred and what makes a thoroughbred?
They're totally different gaits. They're a totally different animal other than the fact that they're both horses. Standardbreds race on the trot or the pace. Thoroughbreds gallop and go a totally different gait. If a trotter or a pacer breaks into a gallop, they're disqualified. So very different. Very different.
So there's differences between a driving horse and a riding horse. You couldn't take a riding horse and make him a driving horse and vice versa.
You could ride a standardbred, but you couldn't race them in the thoroughbred races. No. In fact, we're very active. We donate a lot of money, the people who I trained for forever, to the Retirement Foundation. So when the standardbreds can't race anymore, we always find them a good home. For example, at Horseability, where I volunteer now 5 days a week, I give driving lessons to handicapped kids, autistic kids with a retired standardbred. And you could ride them, but you can't race them against the other breed.
I see. Your philanthropic work is remarkable, and it really touches me personally.
So let me go back because you jumped way ahead.
Okay.
In Robbie's
my mind works like that, Frank.
Robbie's story. So let's go back to Jacksonville University. We played soccer together, and then we lost touch. So I think I got your phone number from Alex Mihalovic, who his son's Georgie was the soccer player on the U.S. national team at the Olympics. I called him because I got a Facebook message from you or something, and I didn't know how to reach you. So I called Alex. Alex had your number, surprisingly, because Alex forgets everything. Alex is like Billy. He forgets everything. But he had Robbie's number. So I shot Robbie an email. And then why don't you pick up the story from here, Robbie?
Okay, so what I mentioned to Frank, the one thing that I really regretted at Jacksonville was I was pretty much there to play soccer. And when I finished playing soccer, I just went right back to the horses. I never graduated. I needed like 6 credits or 7 credits. I did my internship. I student taught at a junior high school. I believe it turned out to be 120 credits. And Frank said, I mean, can I tell a story as it happened, Frank?
Sure.
So Frank said, you know, I believe he said I was on the board of trustees there for 10 years. I was very active in the school. Let me just make a phone call to my friend who was the vice president. Well, about 24 hours later, I get a really nice email from the vice president of the school that said, we went over your records and the amount of credits that you have along with your internship now qualifies for graduating, for meeting our standards for graduating. And how do you want your diploma to read?
Wow.
So my diploma actually came in the mail, and it says December 1976 on it, but they couldn't get the same people to sign it.
Yeah,
you got sold out. He got me a degree from Yale.
Now you're telling
You got screwed.
Well, maybe I'll go for my PhD now.
Yeah, that's incredible.
JU has a law school now. Maybe we'll all get degrees from the law school. No, but they were really nice. They said he's got 120 episodes, 120 hours. That means more than enough to graduate. He's satisfied his student teaching. He's satisfied his internship. So he qualifies. He didn't even have to do the 6 hours.
Dropped the dime and got you a diploma.
Look at that.
Dropped the dime. Now, let's get back to our soccer expert. So you came down to Jacksonville to play soccer?
Pretty much. That's what I was interested in doing. My whole life was either going to be soccer or horses. And there really was no money in professional soccer in the late 70s, early 80s anyway. And it turned out the horses were a great path for me. And I still play with horses 6 days a week and play soccer once or twice a week. I still do.
What?
Wow, you still play soccer?
My wife says I'm a 7th grader for life.
7th grader? Well, I think you have to be a 7th grader for life to do what you did. Because you have to be a 7th grader to life to do what I did. Billy was a New York firefighter for 20 years and a Vietnam vet. He was a 6th grader, and he was a 6th grader in his head. But
I could sum up my head real easy to Robbie and put it in horse language. The horses in my head. I jump on one horse in my head that gallops in 7 different directions. One horse. That's the way my head works. So I'm all over the place.
Call that a loose horse.
A loose horse.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
But you had to be a grown-up in your business. We didn't have to be a grown-up in our business.
Yes, that was all business. But the main thing was I loved it so much and enjoyed it. I looked forward to going to work every day. And, as you guys all know, if you enjoy what you're doing, it makes it a hell of a lot easier. That was one of the 2 things I taught my kids. Make sure you love what you're doing and try not to commute too far. Because I learned that the hard way. When they closed the racetrack near my house, I had to start driving and driving and driving. So
76, you got out of JU, 76? And so that 77, January 77, you were back in New York, and you got into racing immediately. How did you make that transition?
I went back to the track. I actually met my wife at JU too, who ended up working for ABC Sports for 40 years.
Wow.
You could probably do a whole nother episode on her. She followed me back to New York a year later. We built a beautiful life here. And I met her at JU. And then I went back to the track a little bit, just playing around.
What was her name at JU?
Louise Argianas, Argianas.
Does she have a degree? Does she need one? Can I get her one?
She actually graduated from Stony Brook when she came up here. And she worked. She had a great job. She watched sports television go from 3 networks to every team has their own network. And she was director of rights and clearance at ABC Sports and then ESPN for her entire career, 40 years.
So you're married up, Robbie. You're married up.
Well, we all married up.
Yeah, she actually says she rescued me, she said.
Just to go back a little bit, I was in San Diego in a PR firm in 1979 trying to get racquetball on the air. And a fellow by the name of Bill Rasmussen, I was having no success at all getting racquetball on the air. A fellow by the name of Bill Rasmussen came out to my office in San Diego, and he said, I'm starting a new sports network. It's called the Entertainment Sports Programming Network. And if you produce racquetball, I'll put it on the air because we're desperate for content. So I was in the first year of ESPN, I was producing for ESPN, and I produced for ESPN for about 6 or 7 years. I did racquetball and the U.S. National Triathlon Series. And that's how I became a producer, because this fella who was starting a new network who gave me the opportunity. And so we have that in common with ESPN. I don't know whether she knows that name, Bill Rasmussen, but my
wife knew the name.
Yeah.
My wife knew the name, and she's very good friends with Bob Iger, who was also in on the ground floor.
Yeah, Bob Iger is now the president of Disney.
He came back. Yeah, he left and came back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now you're in 1977. How did you get your start in racing? Or in training? You were training
I had very dear friends. This Italian family named the Cirillos, who I had stayed very close with in my junior high years. And he was the first guy that actually introduced me to the racetrack. And he was partners with Anthony Abatello at Roosevelt Raceway with some horses. And I tried messing around with a few horses of my own and some friends of mine. And then I had an opportunity, I'd say around 1980, to train Anthony Abatello's stable in New York. And they had one of the most powerful stables in New York. And it was just such a great learning opportunity that by 82, I started my own stable, my own racing stable.
So you learned trial and error. You learned to train at trial and error, or did you have a teacher or
oh yeah, I learned from the best. If you went back to my junior high school days, I got a job at the local racetrack, summer job, grooming horses, learning how to take care of a horse literally from the bottom up. And after I groomed the horses, then I went off to college. And then when I came back, I continued to learn. And then I learned from Tony Abatello, and that was like going to graduate school. It was just
a master's class in training.
Yeah, and you know what I tell the kids today, I teach the kids still at the farm, you never stop learning. You never stop learning. That's what I love about it.
Did you live near Roosevelt Raceway? Is that what started the attraction?
I still live 10 minutes from Roosevelt, where Roosevelt Raceway was. Yeah, I lived my whole life in Roslyn, and I had a good year. I bought a house here, and they closed the freaking track. So
you were hoofing at the Yonkers? You had to hoof at the Yonkers all the time, man.
Yonkers, I'm going to Yonkers Wednesday. So now I manage a few racehorses. I trained for these people named the Cheyenne Gang. I was blessed. I ended up training for the same base group for 38 years, the same people. And I was blessed to be able to do that. That's kind of unheard of in sports. It would be like having the same manager of a baseball team for 40 years. You know, you have a bad year, you get fired.
Yeah.
But I was able to stay with these people, and we raced at Yonkers, we raced at the Meadowlands, and now, like I said, I manage horses for them, and we're actually racing a 3-year-old at Yonkers this week.
Wow.
So what was the attraction when you lived near Roosevelt? What brought you to the track to begin with? Did you always have a love of horses? Did you just like
animals? I was always an animal lover. Still an animal lover. I tell people I'll do anything for an animal or a kid. Adults,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, you seem like you do a lot for adults too. We'll talk about that later.
I do. But yeah, that's the veterans. I have a soft spot for veterans. And I am more compassionate these days as you get older. I'm sure you guys feel the same way.
Without a doubt.
I'm more compassionate for the people that need it, but I have far less patience for the people
Who
that don't deserve it.
Don't suffer fools at this stage of the game, huh?
No, exactly. Yeah. I feel like, I mean, there's about 50 years missing between you guys and I. But I kind of feel you guys are basically on the same page as me.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Pretty much.
For sure. When did you first start riding competitively? Race riding?
When I started, it's funny you should say that because I was just looking at some old videos before, because we just converted a bunch of old VHS tapes.
To thumb drives?
Before there was no way to see them anymore.
Right.
And we have them on a hard drive now, and I was watching some of the old tapes. So in the very early 80s, when I was still with Abatello, he let me do some driving. And I started driving in races in the beginning. But as soon as I had kids, I stopped driving because I realized how dangerous it was. And if I could get the best to drive for me anyway, Carmine Abatello and Michael Chance and Buddy Gilmore, why not let them drive? And I just did the training. And it worked.
The first race you won as a trainer, did it feel different than the first race you won as a driver?
Yes and no. I mean, when you win a race driving, it's really a real rush, and you're doing everything yourself, you know, and you're driving and training the horse, and it's really competitive out there, really competitive. But still, to this day, when you're a trainer and you send a horse to the gate, you get so nervous, even after 40 years, in your stomach, like it's your kid out there in a school play or something, and you just want everything to go right. And it's a tough business. It's very tough. People think you just throw the horse out there and they go. And there's so many variables. So many things can go wrong in a race, and a lot of things have to go right. You need the best athlete and things to go right. It's a tough game.
How soon, when you assess a horse, can you tell if it's a great horse or not?
You can get a feel training them, but I also came up with a saying early on that, and I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, but I said, horses and women will make a liar out of any man, because I've had horses that I thought couldn't lose, and they won. And I had horses that I thought could win, and they raced terrible. But when you're driving in a race, you get a real good read of a horse. Usually 2 starts with a horse, and you have a really good idea what kind of horse you have. Training helps, but some horses train well and don't race well. And some horses will train really lazy, and in a race, they're so competitive. So you have to get to know the breed and the individual.
It's almost like fighters, right? It's almost like a fighter. You know, some guys are gym fighters and some.
It's like any athlete you've ever met. You know, I've coached soccer for 15 years. Some players were shitty practice players, and they turned it on, won a game. Some games where players were great practice players and sucked in the game. So
you're right.
You're
right. And I never compared the two before, but I think you're 100% right.
Because I know as a soccer player, I was a terrible practice player. But when a game started, I was pretty good. In my assessment, anyway.
So there's your answer. Two games, and you got an idea what kind of team you have. 2 races, you have an idea what kind of horse you have.
That's a great analogy. Two games, you know. Yeah.
Well, talk about 2 games. I played soccer and baseball in college. In soccer, I wanted the ball kicked to me in the last minute or so of the game because I knew if I had it, nothing could go wrong. In baseball, I say hit it any place but to me. Same guy, same athlete, but confidence level.
Exactly.
You can't do anything without the confidence in sports or anything else. You got to know you can do it.
So, sure. Robbie, as a trainer, then is the first thing that you do ride the horse to get an assessment of their possible potential?
Yes. We like to always train them in company. We train them with another horse. That seems to help a lot. Horses being a herd animal in nature, they much rather be with other horses. And so they train better with other horses. And you don't race by yourself. So we try to teach them how to go with other horses. And you do get a pretty good idea. And some horses like to be on the front. Some horses like to come from behind. So you have to get to know the individual traits of each horse too. So there's a lot to it. There's a real lot to it.
Enlighten me here for a second. So you're saying the trainer lets the horse have its own inclination. Some like to come from behind, some like to lead out front. And you find that out about the horse. So it's not the driver that does that. It's the horse. Do you let him?
Well, we'll train them in harness racing. We usually go with our own horses when we train them. So you're sitting in the cart behind the horse. So when you train together, you can get a feel for your horse. If I'm cutting a mile and there's 2 horses following me, when they come to me, my horse, you hope, will pin his ears and not let that horse get around him. If my horse says, go ahead, I'll catch up later, well, the next thing I'm going to do is try my horse following and see if he'll fly home. And horses do seem to, if you watch a race, whether it's a thoroughbred race or a harness race, some horses are really good on the front. Some horses are really good from way back. Some horses want to be close. They do all have their own traits. And it's part of the trainer's responsibility to figure out how your horse is best.
Do those traits get passed down?
They can, but again, it's the trainer's responsibility to figure out quickly. Right. Did they? We just have. I have a little mare. Her name was Cheyenne Trish. When we trained her down, she wouldn't go. She just wouldn't go. And we found out when we put her behind horses, she got so strong that if you didn't give her room at the top of the stretch, she was going to run the horse over in front of her. And she made close to $1 million like that, just racing off the pace. Wow. And now her first good offspring just qualified at the Meadowlands the other day and did the same thing, came from like last and came home a really fast quarter. So quite often their traits will get passed down. But, you have a mother, you have a father, so do they look more like the mother? Do they look more like the father? I mean, like I said, it's pretty complicated. It's not as simple as you think.
Which one do you prefer? Which type?
I like a lazy horse.
Interesting.
I like a lazy horse that will go, as opposed to one that just always pulling your arms out, and then when it's go time, they go the same speed. They don't have anything left. So I always did best with lazy horses.
Interesting.
How do you find your horses to begin with? Do you go to auctions? Do you breed them? So
I was blessed again. The people I trained for, when I first started training for the Cheyenne gang, 40 years ago, they said, we want to buy yearlings. How do you want to do it? So I went to the yearling sales in Lexington, Kentucky, and I brought the most respected, best veterinarian in New York with me. And he taught me how to look at yearlings. His name was Dr. Brennan, and he was just the best, an old school veterinarian that knew how to look at horses. And he taught me. And I would go to 2 different yearling sales every year, one in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and one in Lexington. And eventually we did some of our own breeding too. If we had a really good mare, my guys would breed them also. So I didn't get into the claiming game. I like to race young racehorses and look for the best athlete, and that's how we were able to compete in stakes races.
So what did he teach you to look for at the breeding farms in Lexington?
Well, when you're buying a baby, you can only go by their conformation and their pedigree. What you can't see is the heart and if they like what they're doing or not. Although you can get a little read. Sometimes they pin, because you walk them out of the stall. Sometimes one will pin their ears and they don't want to walk. We wanted one that was happy. You can tell if you're a horseman, if a horse is happy or a horse is cranky. You spend a lot of time looking at the horses, and we would go by pedigree and conformation. And he taught me the most, because you can learn about pedigree by reading and studying the book, but conformation you need to learn from a really experienced veterinarian. And he taught me how to stand back and look at a horse that looks like an athlete as opposed to a horse that looks like he should be pulling a wagon.
Interesting.
And there's nothing you can tell us.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
You used the term twice now, pin their ears back. Like when your horse pins his ear back. That means when he's going to go, he's going to pin his ears back. That makes him, is that the apparent that he's faster or something? What is it?
Well, horses don't have a lot of ways to express themselves. So pinning their ears back could mean a lot of things. If you're approaching a horse and they pin their ears back, you better back up.
Wow.
It's just like a dog. If a dog pins his ears so in that case, the horse is telling you, I don't really like you approaching me. And they can hurt you. They're not aggressive by nature, but a horse pins their ears and you're just in their stall or something, you better pay close attention. If you're training a horse and a horse comes up behind you and the horse you're with pins their ears, usually they're not letting that horse by. So it depends on the situation that they actually are pinning their ears.
Oh, they're not. So they're saying you're not catching me, son of a bitch, and pinning their ears back, and that means they're going to give it all they got.
They're digging in. Yeah, they're digging in.
That's interesting. Right?
Not aggressive by nature. I didn't know that. So all the movies
they're really not. Horses are a flight animal. So I'm always teaching the kids every day at the farm. And the two main things you have to know about a horse that really explains 99% of their behavior is, in nature, they're a flight animal and a herd animal. And almost every action they do, when someone gets hurt by a horse usually wasn't trying to hurt them. They were just doing what comes natural. They're a flight animal. They're running away from something. They spook easily.
Yep.
Until they get used to what you're trying to get them to do. So, if somebody's riding a horse on track and they end up getting dumped, well, the horse wasn't saying, hey, I'm going to dump this guy. I don't like him. The horse got scared of something and you happen to be on their back.
Yep.
And that's usually what happens.
Wow.
That's why motion picture horses have to be trained not to be spooked, because when guns go off, they will naturally want to go. So they get they get extensive training not to be spooked.
I would imagine the same thing with police horses, right? The policemen on horseback, control crowds. They can't be spooked or they kill somebody.
They have to learn. I do a lot of work with police horses. In fact, some of our horses, when they retire, become police horses. The entire Newark mounted police force are retired standardbred racehorses. Because they're good demeanor. They have a good demeanor, and you can train them to be, as chill as possible. There's still live animals, and things can happen. Very good friend of mine was a mounted New York City cop for 20 years, and he does volunteer work with me now. And he tells stories about, his horse getting loose in the park and stuff like that. Accidents will happen, but they're good for crowd control.
Amazing.
2,000 pound.
Amazing. I was down for the Rangers, won the championship for the first time in so many years. And the mobs in the street. You see one of those horses back in it. You're like, what? I mean, they're amazing for crowd control. Amazing.
Good, good.
They're the opposite of New York firefighters. You know, a horse would run from a fire. Firefighters run to the fire. I never understood that state of mind. Something would make you run toward a fire, run toward a gunshot.
You see guys light up. Some guys actually light up when they're going to a fire. The guys that really got the I mean, look, it's the job. You know, you get the job. It's, hey, we got a job. We got a job. And the more jobs you get, then it becomes routine. I'm sure with your situation the same.
Yeah, but speaking of fires, I know in 2002, you had a pretty big stable of horses that you lost in a fire.
Oh.
Why don't you tell us a little about that experience?
That was Thanksgiving. I think it was before 9/11. It was 2000, I thought.
Okay.
It was Thanksgiving night. It was a disaster.
I
was away with my family. We weren't there. We were actually at Hershey Park, which is the reason I'll never go to Hershey Park again. And I got a phone call from my veterinarian that there was a fire at the barn. And I said, you know, what do you say to that? You get a phone call. I said, is everyone all right? And he told me it was a total loss.
13 horses?
Yeah.
Total?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And you were training 12 of them and owned one of them?
Well, what happened was we had our yearlings in a separate barn. And we had some great racehorses in that barn. We had the 3-year-old New Jersey champion of the year. We had the 3-year-old New York champion of the year. It was probably one of the most promising stables I ever had.
Oh, man.
And I didn't think I'd ever come back from it. But that's how good my owners are, the Cheyenne guys. They stuck with me. And as it turned out, one of the yearlings we had in the barn that was spared turned out to be Cheyenne Ray, who ended up making $900,000 and really got us going again.
Yeah.
That was a disaster. I'm sure it was probably caused by the people that were on the backside of the barn. We'll never know. Doesn't really matter at this point, but definitely not one of the highlights of my
awful
career.
story.
But you did come back, and in 2003, you won 37 races. That was probably one of your best years, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did well. I mean, we had so many good years after that. And I got my priorities straight, and you keep growing. You know, like I always say, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. 9/11 came after that, put things in perspective. My son had a really bad accident, but he came out of it fine, you know, and you learn, you know, if it doesn't kill you, it does make you stronger. We're still here, all of us.
Yeah.
You know, before you came on, Derek asked us what it was like to be a senior. And I said it beats the alternative, and it really does.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be old. Blessed to be old. Where was the stable located when you had the big fire, Robbie?
New Jersey, Showplace Farm, New Jersey.
Tragic. I mean,
Gateway. That was at Gateway Farm.
Oh, it must be like losing a child. Terrible. I mean, when you love animals.
Oh my God! At that time, it was talk about PTSD. It was for a while. You know, I couldn't have a fire in my fireplace at home.
Wow.
A lot of stuff. I mean, these were my, you know, I'm close to my animals, really close. So it was brutal. It was brutal, but.
So did that event plus 211, 9/11 spur you involvement in equine therapy, and how did you get involved in it, and how did that evolve?
I don't think it had anything to do with it consciously. I don't think so. I had my stable at the Meadowlands, and I was very good friends with the people that ran the whole Sports and Exhibition Authority. And I had this idea about doing programs for kids because we would have this race. We trained in the morning, we raced at night, so I had the afternoon free. And the guys at the track had this idea. There was a place called the North Ward Center in Newark. and they wanted to bring these tough kids to the Meadowlands. And I learned to work with these rough, tough inner city kids. And they would come in and they would be like, oh, I don't want to do this. This isn't cool. And when you isolated them one-on-one, these kids cried when the program was over. It was phenomenal. And I just learned then that I really enjoyed helping people, helping kids. And through horses was a real easy way to do it.
So is it harder for a layman to learn how to ride a harness, or to ride a horse, the regular way?
I think it's about the same. I think you just need a feel for the horse and to be relaxed. That's the main thing. You got to be relaxed because the horse can tell if you're uptight. The horse will know it. You need to be chill, relax about the horse, and you actually become one with the horse once you get good at it.
Yeah,
that's what I think about it.
My friends who are actors, some love them, and some are deathly afraid of them. And when they get cast in a part where they have to ride a horse, it shows in their actions. I mean, every casual, not actors, but everybody I know who has riding a horse has had an accident.
Really?
They've been thrown.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Robbie says it's dangerous where he works. You can imagine how dangerous it is. I mean, my wife owned a horse for 15 years. She was committed to that horse, and I mean, if she had to make a choice between that horse and me, I wouldn't have wanted her to make that choice. That's for sure.
Anyone that's got a horse has been bitten, stepped on, kicked, thumped, and they love their horse.
It's like a motorcycle. You're going down. It's just a question of when.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So in 2014, you were recognized. You got nominated for the Dan Patch Humanitarian Award for your efforts in horse therapy. How did that evolve? And you must have been so thrilled to get that, but you were just doing what you were supposed to do in your mind.
Yeah, at this point, even I was just invited to come out to Illinois 2 weeks ago to be recognized by Brave Hearts, which is the best veterans program in the country. But I'm not looking for awards. I just really enjoy helping people through horses. And at the Meadowlands, we've had so many programs. We had a program for the inner city kids. We had a program for kids with cancer with Tomorrow's Children, Hackensack University Hospital. You guys, I haven't talked this much in a long time, so I'm losing my voice. I'm involved with a place called Warrior Ranch out east on Long Island, which is strictly veterans and first responders. We do an amazing event in Manhattan with Brave Hearts to bring attention to veteran suicide rate. I mean, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I've done so many different equine programs. Do you know what the suicide rate is for veterans?
Billy does.
22 a day.
Yes.
Billy
Yes,
does.
sir.
Can you come out here and be with Billy because he was a first responder, a Vietnam veteran, retired New York firefighter?
I owe you a lot of gratitude. The work you do is it's right in my wheelhouse. I was a Vietnam vet and 9/11 first responder. So I mean,
he seems like one of the guys that I see every Saturday out east on Long Island, and great bunch of guys. We have kids that were in Afghanistan and Iraq. We've got a bunch of Vietnam veterans, and they're all out there for the same thing. I can introduce you to a bunch of young vets that will tell you horses saved their lives.
Wow, that's
yeah.
And how do they connect? How do the horses connect with the vets, and how do the vets connect with the horses?
It's unbelievable. It depends on exactly what your issue is. I've seen autistic kids, this is not with the vets, but I've seen autistic kids that are nonverbal, that speak their first words on horses. But the vets with PTSD, and every single one of them has it, horses live in the moment and they're not judgmental. So right away, the horse isn't judging you. The horse is accepting you if you're able to bond with that horse. So they start to groom the horse and they form a relationship with the horse. And you have to be in the moment. Of course, the horse is a flight animal. You got to be chill. You can't be, stressed out and thinking about something that happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago or an hour ago. You got to be in the moment with the horse. And these guys seem to start to forget about their issues and what's really bothering them. And these guys, the programs just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that event we do in Manhattan, you guys should come out for it. It's crazy. We take horses 22 miles across Manhattan with the NYPD. We work in conjunction with the fire department, and then we have about 12 veterans from Bravehearts and about 3-4 different mounted units from Delaware, Newark, New York, and we even had it was a government, I forget what they call them now, but it was a government agency that has mounted horses.
And when do you do that event?
We do that around as close to 9/11 as we can every year, because a lot of these kids actually joined because of 9/11.
This is Trails to Zero.
Trail to Zero, amazing event. Amazing event.
Did they have a website?
I did it for about 6 years now.
Do they have a website that we can promote? Is it Trail?
Oh yeah, for sure. Look up Bravehearts. Bravehearts or Trail to Zero. Megan McCuney. She's the president and the founder, and it's definitely the best veterans program in the country.
Great.
And the big.
That's great stuff is right.
So in 1982, you founded Siegelman Stables, and we're all wearing Siegelman Stables merchandise. Why don't you tell me the genesis of that brand?
That's kind of crazy too. So I kept my son out of the horse business, and now he's making a really nice living off of my stable.
And I want to just interject that the line is in honor of his dad. So Max thinks enough of his dad that he founded that line and he kept the name Siegelman Stables, and that's really tells me something about your parenting, you and your wife's parenting.
Well, and it's actually based on my career. And he donates a portion of every sale to equine charity. So during COVID, he was working for a company called Outfront Media, which is a global media company. And he had to work from home. So he had a lot more time on his hands. And he had some of my old stable stuff, hats like this, but old school. And some of his friends started asking him, well, where do you get that stuff? So for fun, he made his friends some stuff and let them have it. And more people wanted it. So he made some shirts and some other hats. He goes, Dad, I think I could sell this stuff. I said, Max, nobody I know spend $65 on a Siegelman hat. He said, that's exactly why you're not my demographic, Dad. And fast forward, like 2 years later, he's got country singers like Kane Brown, who calls him up for outfits, a rapper who I never heard of, who's one of the biggest ones in the world, but I just don't know about rap, named Future, wearing his stuff in videos. He's got Aaron Judge, Kendall Jenner wore his hat on Paris Fashion Week, and the thing went crazy. Tim Hardaway Jr., Dwayne Wade, I can't even think of
Carmelo Anthony.
Everyone is wearing the hat.
And what do you think the attraction is to the hat?
I think a lot of it is they like the charity angle and the family story, I think.
Wow.
I'll tell you a quick story. He put an ad out because he does I told him I'm the CEO, Chief Equine Officer. Because anytime he does a photo shoot and he wants a horse, Dad, I need a horse in Pennsylvania. Dad, I need a horse on Long Island. And I know people everywhere, so it is easy for me to get you a horse for a photo shoot. So he wanted to do a photo shoot in Long Island, and he put an ad for a model in Old Westbury needs to be good with horses. And Camille Kostick, you know her? She's married or lives with Gronk for the last Ron Gronkowski
right.
for the years and years. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated bathing suit. But just beautiful girl, really nice down to earth girl. And she emails Max right away. I'd love to do your shoot. He said, you don't understand. I can't afford you. She said, no, you don't understand. I love your brand. I want to do it for you for free.
That's Frankie Santiago's niece. Frankie Chicklets' niece. The girl who lives with Kronk. Yeah, beautiful girl.
Look her up, Camille. She's
Frankie Santiago's niece.
And Frankie Santiago, just for Robbie's benefit, is a friend of
mine, a
firefighter who was in 9/11 first responder.
Okay.
That's his niece. Okay. Yeah, he lives with Kronk. Yeah, she's beautiful.
And Gronk's brother played first base for Jacksonville University.
Oh, is that right?
Gronk's brother Gordy played first base for Jacksonville University.
Unbelievable.
So
I didn't know that. See, we're all connected there. So yeah, that's how crazy the brand has been.
And your son's name is Max.
Max, yeah. Yep, he's a good boy, too.
The quote I read was, everybody in the West Village is wearing these hats. Why is everybody wearing these hats?
It's everywhere, too. It's everywhere now. I mean, like I said,
St. John's
Jenner worked in Paris.
Yeah, St. John's University made it their official hat.
He just did a collab. He's doing collab. I can't even. He did a collab with the Rangers. He did a collab with the Knicks. He did a collab with the Mets. He just did a collab with St. John's last week. He's brilliant at marketing. He flew out to UCLA. They asked him to come speak to 500 high school kids at UCLA to talk about marketing in today's world. So
he did all this in 4 years, right? 4 years he did all this?
I'd say it may be coming into year 5 now, yeah.
Well, you watch after this show airs, because now you've got a collab with a Mick, a Mook, and a Mike. And when our 10,000 viewers see these hats, tell Max this brand will really take off.
And you know what? You never know who you're talking to.
That's right. And I'm one of the model banana hammocks. If you need a banana hammock with the logo on, I'm the guy. I'll strut down the beach. We'll wow them.
So where do you think the brand's going? Has it expanded into hoodies and warm-up suits, etc.?
I can't keep track of him. He did a collaboration also the last 3 Super Bowls. He was invited to the last 3 Super Bowls. I went to 2 out of the last 3, but I couldn't make the last one because my wife had to have minor surgery on her foot. So I went to Vegas and I went to Texas for the last, was it Arizona? I've been to so many places with him. We also did a collab with the San Antonio Spurs. We had a horse on the basketball court in San Antonio. So where he's going, I can't tell you, but he's been all over the world. He did a collab in Norway.
Wow.
He's had a pop-up shop in Aspen about 2 weeks ago. He's planning on a pop-up shop in the Hamptons this summer.
And when you say pop-up shop, what do you mean?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I didn't know what a pop-up shop was. He rented a space in Soho, say, in Manhattan, and between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they had a store. And they sold Siegelman stuff out of this store for 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas. During that time, he did a collaboration with Carmelo Anthony, and he has his own wine. So they had a dinner in there and wine tasting. And then he had the entire Milwaukee Bucks team come in. He did a collab with the Knicks, and the whole Knicks team came in. He's gotten close with Jalen Brunson, the captain of the Knicks, and the mom was the model. So he's just all over the place. So don't ask me where he's going next, because I can't even get in his head.
Wow.
And like I said, I was looking at the line. The line has got hoodies and sweatsuits and everything with Siegelman Stables.
And I see they're coming out with jeans this spring.
Are they?
Nice.
He hasn't said a word to me, but I see it on Instagram.
If he needs a horse, he'll hear from you. He'll hear from him.
And if he needs a horse's ass, he got you.
Yeah, that's true.
He calls me every morning around 7 o'clock because he knows he can get me. I'm at the farm already. And sometimes I think he's calling just to make sure I'm alive because he talks to me for about a minute. And then, Dad, I got to go. And he's usually on his way back from the gym, jumping in the shower. He starts every single day. He ran like the last 4 New York City marathons. He's a health nut.
Good-looking kid, too. Great picture. I saw a picture of him. Really, he looks like a model. Really good-looking kid.
Him and his fiance have been doing some modeling now for Siegelman Stable.
Wow, that's great. I know my daughter calls Erin. She calls me or my wife every day. Alex's son, Georgie, calls his dad every day. So we're truly blessed. I know Essen will probably and probably call Derek every day. And you know, Billy, you live with your son.
Yeah.
So we're blessed for sure.
Yeah, we are.
For sure. Yep. It's all about family and helping kids and animals.
So what's next for you?
Clothing.
Clothing.
You're going to start your own line.
For me?
Yeah.
I am just going to enjoy Siegelman Stable when I can help him. If he has a pop-up shop in the Hamptons, I love the Hamptons in the summer. I'll be out there a lot. But I want to go to the racetrack and still play with some of the racehorses, but I don't want my own stable anymore. And I love my volunteer work. I want to help people through horses as long as I'm able. Because it's fun. It's rewarding, and it keeps me busy. I know it's good for you. I get up 6 o'clock every morning, and I'm at the farm at 7 o'clock every morning, and I'm taking care of 30 horses out in the field. And then 4 or 5 days a week, I give lessons to the kids. I love it.
Volunteer lessons.
I've been working there for 13 years for free. I've only been retired since COVID, but yes, I teach. All my work there is all volunteer.
Let me ask you, it must be very gratifying to see the kids that you train grow up, attend college, and become successful in other lines of work.
It's all any. Are you talking about my kids? Or
no, the kids that you volunteer with. 15 years ago, you volunteered with a kid who was 15 years old, who is 30 now, and is a fireman or an attorney or a store owner or whatever. That must.
I'll tell you what's even more rewarding. This just happened about 2 weeks ago. Giving a lesson to a kid in the cart. Now, this is a kid that's so disabled, he's in a wheelchair, and it takes 2 grown adults to lift him up and put him in the cart next to me. And he can speak, but because of his cerebral palsy, his speech is very impaired. And he's very handicapped. He can't really walk. He can hold the lines. We call them lines when you're driving a horse. And he starts laughing in the middle of the lesson, just starts laughing. So one of my volunteers, because we always have aides along with us, says, what's so funny? He goes, I'm just happy.
Oh,
I mean,
dude,
come on.
Yeah.
That's your pay right there, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your melt. That's unbelievable.
That's why I do what I do. I do it for the kids, and I do it for the animals. That's what I do now. And you know what? We're not getting any younger, guys. So I'm blessed I have something I can do every day. I'm able to do it. And you're really helping the parents a lot, too. You don't think about that till you get into it for a while. But you're not just helping the kids, but you're really helping the kids' parents. Because most of these parents, you know, our kids are grown and they're healthy. And these parents have to be concerned in a whole different way about their kids.
Yeah, they've had a terrible burden their entire kid's life, and you ease their burden as well.
Yep, and a lot of them end up in homes. This kid actually lives in a home now, but his dad picks him up and brings him to the farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought when you were that right wing or left wing player flying down the wing with your with your massive hairdo blowing in the wind that we would be talking today. It's really great. It's really great. It's really great.
We're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky.
Derek, you got any questions?
I'm curious about the what's the barrier to entry to get into your business nowadays? Is it difficult? Is it expensive to get into horse racing?
Into harness racing?
Yeah.
The thing is, you got to learn it from the bottom up. I would say they're short of help these days.
Really?
Well, yeah, especially say in the winter, you know what it's like to take care of horses in the winter? You got to love it. Right. You got to really want to do it. It's cold.
They shit a lot.
They don't stop shitting. And if they do, you have a problem.
Right.
If they stop shitting, you got to call the vet.
Yeah.
They got a bellyache. So
they're colicking.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's a lot of work. You got to really want to do it. And it's kind of thing where it's either in the family, or you got to know somebody to get you in. But someone could just walk in and say, "Hey, I want to learn," but you got to be willing to do a lot of dirty work for a couple of years, and that's how you learn. I would say a young kid could go in and learn from a top trainer and become successful. But the reason I kept my kids out of the business, and I still think this applies, I recognized right away how blessed I was to train for great, loyal people.
Right.
And if you don't have the right people behind you, you're dead, because you got to be able to buy quality horses. You could be the best trainer in the world, but if you're training bad horses, you're not going to do any good. So I was blessed to have great owners. That's why I kept my kids out of the business. And now Max is killing it off of my business. So
that's good. Suppose you got Derek's money and you want to buy your way into racing.
Oh, that's easier. You can get a piece of a horse. They're expensive though.
Yeah.
And keep this in mind: it costs just as much to keep the slowest horse in the country and the fastest horse. So you can't just buy a cheap one and think you're going to do well.
Right.
I teach that to people in the beginning. Don't get chintzy. Yes, there are some good deals out there. But one, you're buying a professional athlete. And what happens to professional athletes?
Get hurt.
They got a short shelf life.
They get hurt. So you could buy a great horse and he gets an injury and now he needs 6 months off.
Right.
Or you can get lucky and away we go. But people got to understand that in the beginning. So, but it's still, there's so much fun. You buy a 20% of a horse. But that's another thing. Just like they don't stop shitting, the bills don't stop coming.
Yeah, we didn't get a number though.
Old Irish adage.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I interrupted you.
It's an old Irish adage: never buy anything you got to feed.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Derek, you go.
Yeah, what's give us a number. What do we have to 20% of a horse? I know it varies, but give us like a mid-range figure.
They have claiming races, like at Yonkers Raceway, things like that. You could probably get, I'd say for about $5,000, you could probably buy a piece of a horse. 20%, but the bills are probably $5,000 a month.
Okay.
So you got 20% of that.
You forget that, don't you?
Yeah. And so as an average person who has horses, how many horses would one have?
Depends on your bankroll. I trained for somebody that sold a company for $1.2 billion.
Wow.
It depends. That was Cheyenne Software. They own Cheyenne Software. That's why they called it Cheyenne Gang. But you can get a lot of fun out of owning a piece of horse. I love young horses and developing them. But your first horse, you should buy something that could race right away. Put a group together.
Yeah, sure.
Like you want to put 10 guys together, say $5,000 each. Now you got $50,000. Buy a $25,000 horse, and then you got $25,000 for bills. Now that's only going to get you about 5 months if they don't make money.
No, thank you.
Something like that. Or 10 guys, $10,000.
I've paid for one horse for 18 years. And it was 13 years old when my wife bought it. She said, "I want to buy a horse."
Oh,
I said,
right.
"Sure, go ahead."
Wow.
I figured 13 years. So, how long is it going to live? That fucker lived to 33.
Oh, yeah, that could happen.
Yeah.
I tell people when somebody wants to buy a horse, I said horses are like boats. You better off have a friend with one.
Yeah, I got a friend with one. I'm not Billy O'Connor. I'm not going near that fucking boat with you captaining it. Any other questions for Robbie? We'll let him go. Get back to his
Yeah,
day.
I got what better business, the horse racing or the clothing business?
Well, you know what? I think it comes down to the individual.
Right.
If you asked Ralph Lauren, he would probably say the clothing business.
He likes horses too, though, huh?
Yeah, he had I think polo is where it started.
Yeah.
Polo horses. I think my son really likes what he's doing, but I think he's stressed out all the time. Because it's a young budding business, and he has to constantly reinvent himself. I think he loves it. I don't know if he loves it yet as much as, say, I did training horses.
Right.
I don't think I can answer that.
Okay. I knew it was a hard question. I was.
Hey, before
I don't know that there's an answer.
Yeah.
Before you go, can you give us a tip on his 3-year-old running on Wednesday at Yonkers and tell us his or her name? And whether or not you would wager a few shekels on it?
No, I wouldn't bet on her yet.
You would not bet on her yet?
No, because she should be racing against cheaper horses, and she's just not. There's just not a class for her just yet.
So there you go. There's one you could take to the bank, Billy.
I'm going to do you a favor. I'm not going to tell you her name.
Good.
Do me a favor, is right. The best thing that ever happened to me, the first 3 times I went to the track, I lost money. And I said, that's good. That's one addiction I didn't get into.
Yeah, wait. Horse racing. You became a bookie, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, but I wasn't with the horses. I was with the sports. I got into that mess, which is just, horses is a different beast altogether.
It's a different beast altogether. And so are you, Robbie.
Let me do one more question.
Okay, sir.
I want to we don't get this chance. Okay, so we buy. Sorry, I just got to get my camera straight.
I think there's someone here that's very interested in getting into racing, and that's fine. I can help you do that. I'm in management now,
Yeah, and Derek's been looking for a place to hide some money
and
from his
Max
uncle.
Actually there's a bunch of Pro Bowl players that I think it's only a matter of time. There's a Trey, what's his last name? He's on the Pelicans. I can't think of his last name right now.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that are really falling in love with the horses.
Yeah, so you have you got, let's just say, we're going to keep the numbers simple. So $5,000 to buy a piece of a horse, and then let's say $60,000 to take care of the horse, right? So that's $65,000. And horses race. When do they start racing? At about what age? Do they race right away?
Well, if you you don't have to buy a yearling. When we buy yearlings, they don't race till they're 2 years old.
Okay.
So when we buy a yearling in the fall, they can start racing around July. But we don't race the babies. We call those babies. We don't race them that long. I would say maybe 12 starts at the most. What I would recommend is somebody, like if you put a group together, you want to claim a horse. That means there's a race every night, a bunch of races. You bring a check for $25,000, you could take any one of those horses right out of the race.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. People enter them in that. I didn't used to race in claiming races, but some people like that. I like to develop young horses. That was more my thing. Yeah. But claiming races are a whole nother game. I recommend that to somebody like you because you can race next week.
Right.
And how many times can a horse race in a year?
Oh, the standardbreds are tough. They can race 30 times a year probably. Thoroughbreds, maybe 8-10 times a year at the most.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
And do trotters break down less than thoroughbreds?
Yes, much less. Yes, and that's indicative by also how many starts they can race. Standardbreds are more rugged, like a workhorse, as compared to thoroughbreds that are very fine-boned and they break down a lot more.
That brings me to another question. The horse racing game is not what it once was 40, 50 years ago. How do you see it evolving?
I think 10 years from now, it might not even be around, or very, very little.
Wow.
Wow.
What's happened is the gambling dollar has just become so diluted. When I started in the horse business, the racetrack had 30,000 people there on a Saturday night. There was no off-track betting. There was no apps on your phone to bet. So you had to go to Vegas or you had to go to the track. Now you can get on your phone, bet on a soccer game in London, a horse in the fifth at Belmont, and you don't have to leave your house. Yeah. So that's what's happened to horse racing. And then you have the PETA people and pretty much a misconception. Racehorses are taken care of better than most people I know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah. Yes, do horses break down? They do, but so do people. So that's just, I think, more the power of the press and the bad press. And I think PETA doesn't get it right when it comes to racehorses. I just think the gambling dollar has become so diluted over time that it's hard for horse racing to keep going. Without the casinos, these tracks can't keep going at all. Yonkers has a casino. Most successful tracks these days have a casino. And they have a deal worked out with the casino, and that's subsidizing the purses.
Yeah, horses live better lives than people while they're racing. While they're racing, and if they have some stud value, I would hate to be a horse when they're no longer racing and no longer of value to humans. Because
you wouldn't mind being a Siegelman horse, because every horse they've raced goes to the Retirement Foundation.
That's great.
Or like Horseability. We've had horses. Most of our horses die of old age somewhere.
That's great.
That's really.
And we make a point. We make a point of finding them homes. They become police horses. They become therapy horses. They become somebody's pet in the backyard. The Standardbred Retirement Foundation has over 500 horses, and they own them for life. So if someone adopts them, they stay there. They own them, and then if the people who adopt them don't want them anymore, they go back to the Retirement Foundation. So they're protected. Sure, some will slip through the cracks. There's no question about it. Thank God the slaughter of horses is no longer legal in this country. They're trying to make it where you can't export horses to Mexico and Canada, where they still do slaughter horses. It's horrible. But we make sure our horses, believe me, our horses are taken care of better than we take care of ourselves.
Wow.
That's great.
Take care of the investment, too.
That's
right?
great.
I mean,
one last
question.
One last
We're
question.
professional athletes.
Yeah.
But we make sure they're taken care of after they race, too.
Yeah.
My people have had a great reputation for that. We're still supporting 25-year-olds. The horse I have at Horseability on Long Island is 16. She'll be teaching kids for another 10 years.
Wow. That's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
I heard there are still wild horses. Is that true?
Yeah, there is. I love that, too. I've never seen them yet, and it's on my bucket list, so I better do it quick.
Yeah.
But
Not so
wild horses.
Not so quick.
Well, actually, so the place Bravehearts that you guys might look up in Illinois, they deal almost only with wild Mustangs.
Wow.
And that's what these veterans are working with, which is pretty cool if you think about America's military guys, and now they're working with wild Mustangs.
Yeah.
And in this event, they ride these wild Mustangs who are now so tame you won't believe it through New York City streets.
That's
It's a really cool event.
That's great.
You guys might want to come out for it.
Yeah, well, we do Tunnels to Towers. You know, the fire department does Tunnels to Towers. We do the run down there every year.
A lot of the same people.
Yeah, this is Trail to Zero. It's the same deal, yeah.
Same idea.
You guys
And
do
we
an
do it-
awful lot of good, man.
We stopped at, I don't know if you saw the pictures I sent Frank, but we stopped at 2 or 3 different firehouses en route We have lunch. We water the horses. We use the bathroom break. And the fire department is a great part of it. A very close friend of mine is a captain, New York City Fire Department right now, John Cirillo.
John Cirillo, I know John Cirillo.
He's very okay. Full circle. His dad, his dad and his uncle are the guys that got me into harness racing.
Amazing. Amazing.
See that? And
small world.
So you know John Cirillo?
Yeah, I know John. Yeah. Well, I work with this guy, Tommy Brock, and Tommy Brock is big with the whole foundation. What's the guy from Forrest Gump?
Tom Hanks?
No, the other the guy who
Gary Sinise.
Lieutenant Dan Sinise. Gary Sinise does an awful lot for us with the tunnels, the towers, and he's wrapped up with Cirillo too. They do. This guy Tommy Brock.
John is a very, very close grandfather for life.
Wow.
Family friend. His dad and his uncle are the only reason I was involved in harness racing.
That's amazing, man. It really is amazing.
And
we're glad we mentioned that.
Yeah, and then you got Gronkowski's Frankie's son. Unbelievable.
Jacksonville University, and Robbie's still playing soccer. Are you any good?
Tomorrow, 9:30.
You any good?
Some days much better than others. I can run with these kids. We have from 17 to 70.
Wait. You can run with these kids. Who are you playing with? Jerry's kids?
No, I don't have the speed they have, but I can play with them.
You got the skill.
Yeah, and they respect me. They don't knock me over, but I can make them feel good with my passes and stuff. I mean, I can still play. I can.
I think 20 years.
I'm sure they get off the couch a lot easier than I do a couple hours later, but
I know about 30 years ago, I played my last full court basketball game, and I kept saying, give me the ball. It wasn't because I was a chucker. I just wanted to slow the game up. I sit there and dribble for a while so I could just sit there and hold my breath.
That's funny.
How do you guys keep up, man?
Well, a proud Jacksonville University official graduate, 1979.
There you go.
Wow.
That was a
76.
Well, 77.
December 76.
December 76.
A lot of successful guys crawled out of that school, huh, when you guys were there.
That's a good way to put it.
Crawled out.
Be well, Robbie. Hope to catch up to you soon.
Thanks for the hat.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the hat.
Thanks for the hats, brother.
If you're ever out in LA, call me.
Yeah, and same thing. When you guys are in New York, let me know. And I'm going to tell Johnny Cirillo that
tell me you're at the Billy O'Connor. Yeah.
I am. I might send him a text right when I get off.
All right, cool.
That's brilliant.
And let me know how much money you put together. We'll find you a racehorse.
Yeah, you talk to Derek about that.
I can make that happen.
All right.
Great.
I can make that happen.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, Robbie.
Be
Thanks
well.
for coming on, brother.
Let's
Be well, guys.
Let's do this before 53 years passes again.
Oh my God.
I think that's a good idea. No one's going to want to listen to us in 50 years.
Well, maybe 53 years from now, a lot of people will want to listen to us because
I hope 50 years from now somebody watches this podcast.
Yeah,
that'll be legit.
for sure. Thanks so much, my friend. Be well.
All right, guys.
Robbie. Nice meeting you, man. Pleasure.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Nice guy. Really
Pretty
funny
good.
guy.
Pretty good guy.
I remember he was talking about the horseback, the cops on the horses, where he's a bunch of drunken firemen went down at the Ranger thing, and of course all these guys are looking at this cop, and he's riding the horse, and he's on a mare. Hey, look at the big prick on that horse. Look at the big prick on that horse. It's a mare. Yeah, you big prick.
I knew that's where you were going, but well, that was
crazy.
That was a
interesting guy.
Nice change up.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. I bet you if I call my friend Blinky, he knows the Siegelman stables for sure. Because he's a horse nut. He goes all over the country playing horses. He tried to get me into gambling on horses. Thank God, like I said, I lost.
Thank God you didn't tell that story of your friend who was fixing races.
But I'd be smiling at him, Billy. Smiling. I'll be holding those horses back. Oh man, yeah.
Good question.
I should have asked him if he knew Richard LaCarvino because he was a big trainer with Yonkers.
Yeah. And I want to thank Derek for not letting me cut off what I wanted to cut off because it opened up his racetrack dying, and he said a very significant thing that in 10 years there probably won't be any horse
That's
races.
great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, diluted gambling dollar.
Yep. The handle.
They just need a spokesman. They need an icon like him.
Well,
introduce it to the new generation.
As long as the last three numbers on the handle don't go away, there'll be a number for the bookies to run.
Yeah, exactly. For the number every week.
Number every day is the last three of the handle.
That's right. The number.
Well, that's good. We've done a yeoman's job today, Billy and Derek. You guys are great.
The best. You guys are the best. Got my new hat here.
Wait a second, Derek didn't tell us we were the best.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. Yeah.
So thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in next week.
You never know who's going to be on here. You never know who's on with us.
I never know who's going to be on. So
I took a nice tip from Robbie. This way it breaks Frank like a shoe.
Yeah, don't put that in. Please don't put that in.
Do me a favor, don't put it in.
All right, be well, folks.